everybody, this is Beth McCullough. I have been a demonstrator in the United States since 2003. I live in Iowa, and I actually do Facebook Lives every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Central with my sweet husband, Steve.
And YouTube.
And YouTube Live. Yeah, that's even better. How are you doing, Steve?
I'm doing well. Happy to be here.
So, Steve is very proud of his title. He is my assistant. What are you called?
Assistant demonstrator.
Assistant
I worked hard for that.
You did. You worked very hard. So he's joining us. This is Molly, my sweet puppy. She's a therapy pup along with our older pup. They're 12 and 14 years old. I'm going to put her down. She sleeps in a bed by my feet while I do this.
Yeah, that's no indication of Beth needing therapy, by the way.
Oh, I don't know. Before a video goes live, it helps to have some therapy. Well, I am excited to show you this stamp set tonight. It is called Kite Delight, and we haven't gotten to show the inside of the catalog yet. So here's the first time, because I know this is happening January 4th. It's on page 31. I haven't seen anyone make anything with it yet, so I thought I should. And it's darling. I like making simple, bright, and happy cards. You can make a set of note cards, all kinds of things. So that's what we're going to make today. Before we get started, though, I want to show you something else. I'm part of the Creativity Abounds group. It's worldwide demonstrators, and we're doing a stamp camp. It is January 28th and 29th. Here, I'll show you the flyer. And it is a great deal. If you buy the suite collection for $90 from me, the code is right here on page 32, 157765. You get everything for free. You get 12 projects with written tutorial and video tutorial. You get an exclusive Facebook group, 12 more tutorials, and 24 projects total. And the card kit to make 12 of the projects. So it's a great deal. You can email me at beth@stampingmom.com if you have any questions. But if you purchase this, even if you're a demo, you can do that. Demos who buy that from me, the $90, will get all this for free. So I would encourage you. We have some great projects. So what else do we have? Well, let's start with the first card. I use the Stamparatus on these. And I'm going to show you that on the last card, but we're going to step up from the beginning. So what I did on this card, all the cards use the same color. I used Daffodil Delight, Magenta Madness, and Bermuda Bay. And I either used the ink pad or I used the set of blends. I also used this stitched rectangle right here to cut out some of the sentiments. On some of the other cards, I use the Give It a Whirl die and use this die to cut out the sentiment. And then on a couple, I use the sentiment, a little something to brighten your day, seemed to fit with these two. It's from the Rainbow of Happiness set. I made dozens of calendars for all my team members with the Rainbow of Happiness, the end of November.
I know the rainbow certainly made you happy.
It does. It is. You know, I love the rainbow. God promised us when He made the rainbow, the world would never flood again. And
I'm for that.
Yes, and I love God's beautiful rainbows. Okay, so what I did on this one is I literally just stamped it with the Magenta Madness, the kite, and then the string. I stamped the sun with Daffodil Delight, but it looks pretty plain, right? So I layered it on a piece of Bermuda Bay. In fact, you have the layers on some banners, Steve.
Okay.
So on all of these card bases, they're 4 1/4 by 11. And can you tell me what the centimeters, what the metric is for that?
10.5 centimeters by 29.7 centimeters.
Scored at
14.9 centimeters.
Okay.
And in inches, it was 4 1/4
by 11, scored at 5 1/2.
Right.
So all these cards are very similar. We're just stuffing them up. So this is just plain stamping. And then I thought, well, I want the sentiment on here, and the kite flag was in the way. So I stamped it in black on Bermuda Bay, but I didn't like the way it looked. So, you know, there's always iterations on what we do. So I did it again with Versamark on the Bermuda Bay and then used the white embossing powder. And doesn't that look better, Steve?
It does.
So I am gonna get these dimensional backs off and just place it on here so it's covering my kite tail. But this is a very simple card, but yet it's still pretty.
Bright.
I tend to go like this. Someone wrote to me on YouTube and said, don't do that. So I'm going to try really hard not to move it. Okay, so that is the first card. Then I did it again. And this time what I did is I stamped it in Versamark and then I went right into the color. So if you don't, we don't have embossing powder in all the colors. But did you know that you can ink up a stamp in Versamark and then put it right into the color, stamp it, put on the clear embossing powder, and then you have the shiny. Can you see it on the screen, Steve?
Yes.
It's shinier. Like here's the plain stamped, and this is almost the same thing, but with clear embossed powder
You can see a
on
little
it.
sparkle on there.
Yeah.
Clear embossing powder. Who knew?
Yeah. It's great. Clear embossing powder makes it so we have all 50 colors of Stampin' Up. So you take your stamp, put it in the Versamark, ink it up, go straight into the ink color, and then stamp it. Now I did it here on the Bermuda Bay, so I liked that it was shiny. But after I had this one popped up, I thought this one needed to be popped up too. So I went ahead and did the white embossing powder again. So you can see I like layers. So even when you're simple stamping, if you do some embossing or you do some layers, it just steps it up a little bit. So you can't see a lot of difference between these two. Then, okay, next, this was Steve's idea. I wanted to do all white embossing powder and leave it. So on this one, I stamped the Versamark, put on the white embossing powder, and then left it that way. Do you guys like it white? And then I put it on a layer. The layers are the same on all three of the, or all the cards, all three layers. And I wanted to show you how I was popping these up. You can put Stampin' Dimensionals all over. I like to use these foam adhesive strips because it's just faster.
So on your layers, to be clear, you have one layer that's 3 3/4 by 5.
Right. That is always the layer where the kite and the sunshine is.
Okay. And that's 9.5 centimeters by 13.9. The second layer, this is the bigger layer that it's on, that it's behind, is 4 and
4 by 5 1/4.
4 by 5 1/4, or 10 centimeters by 14.4 centimeters.
So pretty standard, the typical standard that you go by, 5 centimeters down in metric and 1/4 of an inch in inches. So on this one, I did the white embossing powder and I did it on the magenta pink. So what do you think? Now it's starting to look more like a Beth card, isn't it, Steve? I think this is definitely a step up. So card number 3 is my favorite so far. Then what I decided to do is I stamped it again. This time I used black embossing powder. And it's super fun to color and really easy to color in the images. Of course, the dots already were black. So I just colored in the flower and the sunshine and the tail on the flag. Now this is, again, exactly like this. Which one do you like better here, Steve?
You know, it's going to be a tough one. I really like the different colors on this one.
Uh-huh.
The coloring is beautiful, but I really like the contrast between the Bermuda Bay and the white. So
either one. I hope if someone got this in the mail, they would just think it's cute. But then I decided, instead of just doing another year flies by, happy birthday, I went back to that sentiment from the rainbows, a little something to brighten your day, and to give it a whirl. So I embossed it with white embossing powder on the black. And when you cut this, it cuts in two separate pieces. So you end up with a circle and you end up with the scallop. So I just ran it through once in magenta and once in black. And then to hold it together, so this is two separate pieces. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So I put dimensionals on the edges.
Ooh, that's
to hold it together. And then just one in the center. And then I'm going to put this down in the corner.
So the dimensionals are doing double duty on this one.
They are. They are very
versatile.
Very useful. So there. Now you can see the difference in these two. Okay, so it's almost time to get out the Stamparatus, and I'll show you how I've been doing this. So with the Stamparatus, I'm using two different plates. The reason I'm doing that on this one is because the kite tail was getting in the way. So I have my piece of black, and on all the layers where there's a kite, it's 3 3/4 by 5, or whatever that is in centimeters, Steve.
I'm putting that banner back up. 3 3/4 by 5, 9.5 centimeters by 13.9 centimeters.
Okay. So I use my Emboss Buddy. I know we don't have Emboss Buddies anymore, but there's other tricks you can use for that. And I can't think of them off the top of my head, but they're in there somewhere. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is use my Versamark. And to place these, I'll go ahead and move them. Just decide where you want them on the cardstock and put them face down. So the flat side is up. These have gotten a lot of use because I made a ton of cards with these today. Okay, so I'm going to place them where I want them. Am I in the camera for the
You're doing great.
Stamparatus?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what I did on all of them. I'm going to ink it up with Versamark. Because on some of them I found I wasn't getting the stamped image the way I wanted it. This way, if you don't get it, you can just do it again. I know my Stampin' Up! Upline, she doesn't even use the blocks anymore. She uses her Stamparatus for everything she stamps. Now, it's hard to see on the black, but I'm going to give it one more layer just to make sure.
See, that's what I like about this, because you can
Do you like the do-overs?
I like the do-overs. Do-overs make things a lot less stressful.
So let me tell you a little bit about Steve. We've been married 35 years, and we met when we were 12. So for the last 45 years, we've been having adventures together. So we do Facebook Lives every Tuesday night. And typically when there's a lull, when I'm busy stamping, Steve will break into one of our adventures from the 45 years. So if you would enjoy that, please come join us.
And they're usually fairly humorous in terms of
or at least
our foibles.
We think they're humorous.
If you like,
you'll have to check it out. Give us more than one chance, though.
I would call them more misadventures than adventures. Usually.
Misadventures.
Some of them are just adventures, but we have lots of misadventures too.
Okay, so on this, what I'm doing, it's easier without the camera in the way, but I'm putting the kite string up on the kite. I did have some kites and strings that weren't attached. Not sure how that would work on a windy day.
It would look like it was the kite just lost its tail.
Yeah.
Because it's still close to the kite, but.
And I don't know if you can tell, I started out with clean plates when I started this project too, but I have done a number on this today.
So, you know what tails do for kites, right? If you don't have a tail on your kite to way down the bottom and you try and fly it, it'll just flop all over the place in the wind. But when you put the tail on it, right, then it manages to not flop around so much and look like a beautiful kite. So it's like you're my tail, Beth, in our relationship. You keep me from flopping all over. No, we didn't. I'm taking the risk here. But, you know, otherwise I'd just flop around all the time and not be, oops, you still have some left to go there. I can see the third bow. We have a third bow emergency here.
The assistant demonstrator is now giving
quality
tips.
Control.
Yeah, quality control for the. So you see why you use the Stamparatus on this, right?
Definitely makes it easier.
Okay, how's that? I think this is pretty good. So I'm going to move the Stamparatus out of the way. If you don't have a Stamparatus, you certainly need one. And it's great having the different doors. Having doors come from each direction.
Door number 1 or door number 2?
So then I'm going to take the white Stampin' Emboss powder and I'm going to put it on the black. And this one is really fun to color. I saved it for last because it may be my favorite. And I don't think Steve's seen it yet. So we'll have to see. The problem with using black is, do you guys remember, did I use this? I use the Emboss Buddy? I'm not sure I did. Because look at the mess on there. So we'll just move this out of the way. And then I'll use my handy dandy brushes. Because if I leave this on here,
it's going to have little white speckles.
It's going to have speckles everywhere.
It's almost like painting the blank spots.
Right. So I'm going to be really careful toward the edge. And with some of this, you just need, I say I'm a recovering perfectionist. I guess I'm recovering on some days, others not so much, right?
Well, I understand. You want it to look nice. Plus, you're doing it on video for hopefully thousands of people to see.
Yeah, everyone who's part of the catalog launch. Okay. So in a perfect world, I may have just started over because I think I forgot the Emboss Buddy step.
Oh, I think you're doing good. Again, you know, it's that perfection thing. Got to leave it behind.
Yeah. You are right. So we just had our son from Texas and his fiance here for 2 weeks.
Oh, we had a wonderful time.
And that was super fun. And they left today.
They were going to leave yesterday, except we had a snowstorm.
Yes.
And they were headed south. And
Amy's from Texas, and she prayed for snow. And how many inches did we get the night before she left?
6 inches.
6 inches. She was happy. She stood by the door and just watched it snow. Here we're all like, oh no, it's cold and it's
now I'm gonna have to shovel.
Yeah. And Amy just thought it was awesome.
She even did a FaceTime with her parents in Texas and let them see behind her with all the snow in our sunroom. They could see it.
Okay. This is good enough. I actually have one that I already worked on. So we'll emboss it and let you see my imperfect embossing. But.
So do you want me to tell a story now?
Can they hear you over the sound of the heat?
I'm going to lean right into the microphone. So we bought a new game for Christmas called On the Right Track. And it's about building trains in the early 1900s. Some of you have probably played it, but it is a lot of fun. And it takes a lot of thinking.
We played twice.
Who
won the second time?
Beth won the second time.
Yay!
And she was determined that everybody should play again because she thought she could win a second time too.
You know, we have a little bit of a competitive family. So,
yeah.
Okay. So hold that thought, Steve. Now, get out your blends. I tended to use the dark ones. And this is pretty cool. I'll start it on this one and then I'll switch it to the other one. But when you color, I should let this cool first. When you color, you don't really have to stay in the lines because what you color on the black doesn't show up. So this is my kind of color.
I was going to say, that's my kind of color.
You could
Wait, I don't have to stay within the lines?
Yeah.
That's kind of the story of my entire life.
I think you could do this too. So let me bring this one over that I've been working on. Isn't this pretty? Can you see it here? I'll hold it up. I'm coloring this Daffodil Delight, and the Kite is magenta. And then all those little dots, I colored those with the Bermuda Bay. So there's just a little bit left to do. Now, someone asked Steve if we could zoom in when I'm coloring. Is that something we can do, or is that not a thing?
No. Well, I mean, I could just put your stand down with the camera so you could see a close-up shot.
Okay, some people have things, they push a button and it zooms in, but I don't think we have that, right?
I could take the camera that's on me and just carry it over there and get a real close-up for you. Like
Could
this.
you?
Sorry, people.
Don't get dizzy. Okay. Can you look and see if it's on there? Okay, so look at this. This is super fun. The brush tips are fragile, so be really careful if you're using the brush tip. And it'll say right here, this is the brush tip. I almost always use the nib, the smaller one. But on this, I'm covering more territory, so I'm using the large. But I'm being really gentle on the side of it. But this is therapeutic. Talk about therapy, the therapy dog earlier. It is very therapeutic to color these. So you may need to buy this set just so you can sit and color and color. And then look at the smiles you'll bring to someone's day when they receive this in the mail. But as you can see, it goes really fast. Just be careful that you're not flattening that side.
So that's why I probably shouldn't do it. So
Yeah, Steve tends to use a little muscle.
that's my specialty.
Yeah. Okay, so I really like the looks of this. Do you like that, Steve?
I do.
So on this one, I did the same thing that I did on the others. So we're gonna just glue this layer down to the magenta. This is basic black. And then I did the same thing with the sentiment that I did on the last card, which is put dimensionals off to the side.
Oh, they're doing double duty again.
To hold these layers on. They are. They definitely are. So on Tuesday nights when we do our videos, whatever Steve says he likes, our friends always are like, oh, we like what Steve likes.
That's not true. Sometimes my tastes do not match.
You
with our
don't think
viewers.
so?
Yeah, I tend to like bold, bright colors, which actually works really well with Beth because that's her motif as well.
Yes, I love making bright and happy cards because why are you sending a card? To cheer someone up, to wish them happy birthday. There's just all kinds of reasons, but I always want them to be happier after they receive my card than before.
So now you get to use the gummy bear.
The gummy bear adhesive, otherwise known as foam adhesive strips. You can't rename these things.
I think it looks
Steve.
like licorice. We should call it licorice adhesive.
You think so?
Yeah.
I just like it because it's faster than dimensionals. And it also really lifts it up nicely. Okay, we're going to go back through and review. How many people are going to buy this stamp set now? Should we look at it again?
Aren't you going to finish your card first?
I am. Oh, my card's going to stick to it.
That's what I was worried about.
Yeah. It's like a bonus. So it's on page 31, Kite Delight, and it's only $18 in the US. And don't forget, if you want to do my stamp camp for free, 157-765, it's $90. And I would love to have you join me. It's a super fun weekend. If you're not available that weekend, it's all recorded and you can go back and watch it later. So I'm going to pop this up on Bermuda Bay. There.
Well, that's
simple but fun cards. So let's start from the beginning. This is just plain stamping until we got to the sentiment, which I did emboss in white embossing powder. This is stamped in the Versamark and then right into the color and then clear embossing powder so it's shiny. This one is white embossing powder on a darker color. This is Bermuda Bay with the magenta sentiment. Here we did it with black embossing powder and then colored it in. This coloring was also easy and fun. And then we used basic black cardstock, white embossing powder, and then we colored that with the blends.
So I had no idea that you could color your embossing powder.
You didn't?
No, after you've done your embossing, you can color it. And that was pretty cool.
So here is all the different cards. I know a lot of you know all about embossing and everything else, but I hope you learned a little tip here or there. And I like to give out tips on Tuesday nights too. I hope you'll join us. I hope you have a wonderful day watching everyone's videos and have a blessed week. Thanks so much. Happy new catalog launch.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.